right side, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! 6, going to the hoop, puts it up, puts it in! A fantastic play.
Welcome back here to the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios for the Magnolia Fields Podcast, Maroon and White edition, covering all things Mississippi State athletics. I'm Tanner Marlar, alongside, as always, Cody Blaszczak. And, you know, we talk about all things Mississippi State. And last week, we said that this was probably one of the biggest weeks in the program's history, arguably, for Mississippi State soccer. And boy, did they deliver, Cody.
Yeah, it was a neat task to welcome the two newcomers, Oklahoma and Texas. And boy, did they say welcome to the SEC.
That they did. You were on the call for those games, weren't you?
I was on the Texas game. That Oklahoma game was at Oklahoma. I got the 2-0 win there. And then Texas, number 11 Texas in the nation, with 4 top 100 players, comes to town and drops it 1-0. However, Texas did have some injuries. I mean, they were really struck by the injury bug right now. Trinity Byers is out, who is number 4. Their goalkeeper, Mia Justice, was at 98, got hurt in the state game, had another one. The defender, Cox, number 30 in the nation. They're all hurt. The only one that was still available playing that game was Lexi Missimo, who was number 1, is the best player in the nation. But sometimes number 1 just isn't enough to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how good this Mississippi State squad is defensively. Anytime you've got that kind of defensive ability, you can shut out one player. You know, no matter how good they are, you can take one player out of the game. And we thought going into that one, the strategy might be, well, take Missimo out, and if the others have to beat you, so be it. But now with all those out, it was pretty much, I don't want to say a cakewalk for Mississippi State, but they really never were truly that threatened on the defensive side.
Yeah, they have a freshman that's made a really big impact, Amalia Villarreal, who just couldn't get many looks. We were kind of like your James Harden. They're going to get their shots.
Yeah.
She didn't. This is how crazy this was. Texas going into that game was like number 1 in the nation on shots attempted in a game. They finished with 7.
Yeah.
And they averaged about 22.
I mean, that's the thing.
They didn't have a shot on goal until about 20 minutes left in the second half. Lexi Missimo, in her career, has never gone a game without getting a shot off. That came with about 15 minutes left in the game, and she only had 1.
Yeah.
It was
and it wasn't
really
like
incredible.
It wasn't like it was a great look.
It was a great look.
I mean, it was well, for Lexi Missimo, it's probably a fantastic.
It was a great look.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful save by Maddie Anderson. I mean, there's a reason people believe that she is one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper in the nation. And she really, at least to me, doesn't get the recognition I think she deserves. She just picked up her 5th career SEC Defensive Player of the Week honor after Oklahoma and Texas. Riley Combs, their center back, also earned a Top Drawer Soccer Women's Team of the Week honors. And you look at this team, and they don't score a million goals. They score the goals they need to win games. Allie Perry has really come on. I mean, coming into this season, she had 3 total career goals. She has 4 in this season. She's also been bitten with injury throughout her previous years, but she has really come on in a positive way. But when you look at this team, the defense, Maddie Anderson, that is what sticks out to you. And that back line of Madarin, Riley Combs, and Alexis Gutierrez is really, to me, right now at least, the best back line in the nation. This team, through 9 games, has allowed 2 total goals. Both of those goals came to Wake Forest. Once again, Wake Forest is number 5 in the RPI. I mean, this is a legitimate team here in Starkville with the Bulldogs, with James Armstrong at the helm.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we talked to Coach Armstrong before the season and Alana Izquierdo, who's been a huge boost for this team so far this year. And you kind of mentioned, like, he was very, very high on this squad coming in. And everybody was like, you know, it's the head coach talking highly of his players like they always do, but he meant it.
Yeah, James, I love talking to James Armstrong. He's a lot of fun to talk to. He's a really good person, has a great attitude about a lot of things. I mean, a certain determination, and since he has been at Mississippi State, he has continued to break records and just continued to break them, is now the winningest Mississippi State women's soccer coach in history at this program. He's been here for 6 years. This is his 6th year.
It's not like he's a 25-year vet.
Yeah, he's already the winningest. I mean, it just tells you what he's done for this program. It's been really special to watch, really just him coaching on the field, on top of the fact the media had time with him after the game on Texas, and sometimes I just like to take in the view. Just walk out, stand to watch everything after the game, and didn't hear really anything of what he said. But afterwards, when he's walking back to his team, just pumping his fist, just excited, and the energy from him on top of his assistants and Nick Zimmerman and Drago, that just the atmosphere and the attitude from them is absolutely incredible. I mean, they were out talking to fans after the game. It's just an awesome scene.
Yeah, and I enjoy talking to Coach too because, one, he's very real. He's very tangible. Like a lot of coaches that I get to talk to, you know, they kind of operate on this higher plane. Like Coach Mike Leach was always almost like on a pedestal to me to the rest of humanity. James Armstrong is not that way, and I really enjoy it because I can just pass him, and I do regularly in a coffee shop in town or something like that, and he's always down for a conversation, always smiling. And that team deserves the best, and I'm very glad to see them playing like it as well.
Well, the highest, we talk about records. Here's another one for you. The highest national rank in program history coming this week. They were 24 last week when they played Oklahoma and Texas. They are now sitting at number 9. They are number 10 in the RPI. I mean, they're number 12 in top drawer soccer. You just can't talk enough about them. And,
you know, to kind of zoom out and look at this from a departmental standpoint, you know, Zach Selman, the athletic director, comes from a school where Title IX sports are taken incredibly seriously. Olympic sports are taken incredibly seriously at Oklahoma, at Wake Forest. And I think you're seeing that kind of reflected here. You know, I think Selman has given Armstrong kind of the go-ahead on whatever he wants to do with that program because he trusts him to take it in a good direction.
I think he's given him more in the sense that my thing is James was here before Zach was, and he was excelling. And
he was.
I mean, but sometimes you see coaches go like this and then this. I mean, it has just been this all the way for James Armstrong. So, I mean, it might have a little more resources, but he was doing this before Zach came
he was doing very well before Selman came here. And now I think that we're seeing, and granted, I think a lot of this is Armstrong too, we're seeing it taken to another level. You know, new construction projects, which granted isn't directly part of Selman's plan. Those plans have been in motion, but beautification projects around the soccer stadium, a lot more money being kind of funneled into the groundskeeping and everything for soccer. Record attendance numbers over these last 5 or 6 years with Armstrong. It's been fun.
It's even funnier because the top 5 attendance records are all under James Armstrong.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, Coach, you're doing a heck of a job.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. We can't wait to see where this goes. We'll have Coach back on here before long. We got to work that out.
They got some fun ones coming up this week, too. Thursday, they travel to South Carolina, the number 23rd ranked team in the nation. That game was initially, it was either 6 or 7. It is an 11 a.m. game now because of the weather coming in there. But then they come back home, LSU, this Sunday, 6:30.
Them Tigers. Hopefully we'll get Coach Armstrong back in the studio. For now, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk some NIL, name, image, and likeness here after these messages. Stick with us here on the Magnolia Fields Maroon and White Edition.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome to the Richard Schwartz and Associates Magnolia Field Studios. One call, that's all.
Back here from the Richard Schwartz and Associates Studios and the Magnolia Fields Maroon and White edition. Cody, let's do it. Let's just dive straight in because you and I have very differing opinions on this whole topic. Came in today and I texted Parker, our lovely producer, before we got in today, and I said, we have got to talk about this UNLV Matthew Sluka situation. It's a developing story, and for the listeners, we're recording this at 12:51 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. This is very much a developing
September
story.
25th, just so we have all of that ironed out.
September the 25th. This is very much still a developing story, but it's got eyes on it from across the college football landscape. Matthew Sluka, quarterback at UNLV, a 4-year player for Holy Cross, I believe, played 4 years there, led them to a lot of good wins. Holy Cross, for those that are unfamiliar with the Division II kind of football landscape, Division II powerhouse, okay? Sluka comes in, and he's guided UNLV to one of the best starts in the program's recent history. They're right on the cusp of being a top 25 team. I think they were actually, by the voting count, 26th in the most recent AP poll that got released on Monday. Matthew Sluka has announced he will forego the rest of the season and not suit up again for UNLV. He's going to redshirt and play his final year of eligibility elsewhere because UNLV has not followed through on the verbally offered $100,000 that he was promised in NIL money.
It's a tough situation.
It's tough. I mean, and no matter how you look at it, and there's so many different reports about it. I've seen some 24/7 guys that are apparently in deep with the university talking about this. We've got, right now, we're looking at an article from Pete Thamel and Rittenberg over at ESPN who are talking about this.
If there is however many sports news outlets there is an article about this.
There is. Action Network's got something on it. I mean, it is insane, bar none.
It's crazy. It's a bad situation is what it is.
It is. And essentially what it sounds like has happened, and this is the information we've got at 12:52 p.m. on September 25th. Sluka was verbally offered $100,000 to come and play at UNLV. He has only received $3,000 up to this point, and he's about to burn his red shirt if he suits up in another game. So he's sitting out the rest of the season.
I hate to see it.
You do. And I think this goes into a much broader conversation, and this is kind of tying back to our wonderful producer. He asked me, well, how do we relate this to Mississippi State and Ole Miss? And I answered, this relates to all of college sports, period. I mean, no doubt about it, because NIL is here to stay. You and I both know this. There's no getting rid of it now. You've opened Pandora's box. But at the same time, have you done it in the right way?
And you're right. NIL is here to stay. I don't think, give it a couple of years, it's still going to be a big deal. I don't think it's going to be nearly as big as it is now, though, because of the lawsuit going on with universities being able to pay student athletes. When that does become legal and that becomes possible, I think you're still going to see NIL deals, but it'll only be for the top % of college student athletes that are making multi-million-dollar deals with Nike, etc.
I don't know. And I think you'll still see some, you
might see some local stuff.
I was going to say, I think you'll see some local stuff. I think you'll see some small brands.
I don't think it will be as heavy as it is now because it's the only way they make income. If they're being paid from a university, I think it changes the landscape just a hair.
That's fair. You're of the opinion, NIL, that Pandora's box probably never should have been open.
Just because of, you and I both grew up with it. You're student athlete. Student comes first. Student athlete. You are a student before you are an athlete. Money should not have gotten involved. And if we're going to be real, money has really always been involved because your tuition's paid for. All of the, you're treated like a god when you're a student athlete.
Except
it's
for
just
in your
how
wallet.
it is.
Except for in your wallet.
But you get everything paid for. kids on scholarship at colleges that are just students didn't have any of the
But they're also not making multiple millions of dollars for these universities. And I don't mean just one or two. And sometimes
I think you're wrong there, because you look at kids that do projects with engineering and stuff that the university goes and takes as their own and stuff. That's millions of dollars and whatever
it
it may
doesn't
be.
go towards the actual university. It goes to the research and the research budgets.
It's still,
it does not go towards building a new football facility
the
or
student
putting
is
butts
still
in
not seeing
seats
any
every
of it.
Saturday.
The student's not seeing any of it, which is
No.
the same concept as to what college athletes are doing.
But the money's going to different places.
The point is whether the student is receiving money or not, you making money for a university. Both situations, they were making money for the university and not seeing a penny.
But
of
that
it.
money's coming from federal grants. It's not coming from everyday Americans who are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to go watch these kids play, and the university is profiting. Or before now, the university was profiting all of that.
Well, then how do you say it for private colleges? It's the same thing. Kids weren't seeing a penny of it.
No, and they should. I'm not saying I'm not saying they shouldn't have been, but now even their athletes are getting NIL deals. Thankfully,
They are, but the whole situation is just a mess because of how NIL is. If you would have kept it the way it is, people would have gotten mad, and it would have been what it is, and people still would have played. It's that simple.
I think that NIL was coming. It has always needed to come.
I think we all knew it was coming.
I think it was rushed. I think that NIL was legalized, and again, it was just the Wild West. We pushed this forward as a college sports community without any kind of regulation at the federal level, and that was a mistake. That was a huge mistake, because now, how do you put the cat back in the bag?
The other issue is, and you probably have an idea of how it's phrased, but Tanner, how does the NCAA define college sports?
Oh, there are 50 different, depending on who you ask. But
by the handbook of the NCAA, college athletics are essentially for like intermediate people. There's a specific word that's blanking my mind, but it's a word that separates it from professionally and being paid and all of that stuff for your services.
And that was written before billions, and I do mean billions with a B, came into the equation.
It was updated like 2 years ago.
And it was written before billions with a B came into the equation.
The update, nonetheless, the point being is, though, the concept of college sports is not supposed to be about this money and all of this stuff. When you become a professional, make your money, make your glory, have fun with it then. You're still a student athlete. It makes no sense, because 98% of these student athletes are not going to go play professional sports. They need to be focusing on the school and not playing for years.
But if they're going to make money for the school, which is what they're doing by suiting up, right? We all know that, especially in football. Then what other option like you said, yeah, they're not going to go play professional sports. But you're saying the professionals, yeah, you make some money then, but you get paid down the road. You get your money later. Most don't. Most make millions for their institutions and then don't. That's the problem. The problem was never, Nico vowel sound not making any kind of money and players like that. Yeah, that was never the problem. The top 2% was never the concern. The problem was the 98% that aren't going to go play in the league, that just made this university millions and millions and millions of dollars. And really, this company is, when you go back to EA Sports and how this conversation restarted, millions and millions and millions of dollars with their name, image, and likeness without ever being compensated for it. That was the problem.
But they are being compensated. They're getting free education.
Not from EA Sports, they weren't.
Not from EA Sports, they weren't, but that's a different scenario in its own. And if we're being, there's a fine line, especially with EA Sports, but they might have used what they looked like, but their names were never involved.
They used to be. Go back and look.
Years and years ago.
And that's good.
And they
Go back and
changed
look.
that for
They
a
did,
reason.
But they still use their
I don't
image
think
and
there
likeness.
To an extent, and you could really make an argument that they did.
No, you couldn't.
You could.
No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't.
Definitely could.
Go play NCAA 14 and tell me who that running back
And
is.
you know who it is, yes, but there you can make an argument that it's not.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't. It would be.
There is no name.
You're grabbing at straws. And that's why it's not just name, space, image, space, likeness, space. It's all together. It's the name, image, and the likeness.
I mean,
They're using the image and likeness. They always were. They always were. Because that's how they sold games.
Take away that, though, you're being compensated by the university. A free education is compensation, whether you believe it or not.
Not near enough.
I'm not saying it's equal to what they do or not. It is compensation.
And it's not near enough. That's about all the time we've got for this segment. We'll go ahead and move on after this break. Talk about the Mississippi State quarterback room. A fun one. Hang on. We'll be right back after these messages.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, you know who to call. Call me. Remember, one call, that's all.
Welcome back to the Magnolia Field Studios, brought to you by Richard Schwartz and Associates. One call, that's all.
Back here on the Magnolia Fields podcast, Maroon and White edition. This last weekend, Mississippi State football drops a tough one to Florida, like we all expected, but the loss was worsened a little bit afterwards with the news of Mississippi State starter Blake Shapen being, out for the rest of the season with an injury.
Mississippi State made Graham Mertz look like a Heisman candidate.
They did. And that's not even the topic of this section. That's for a whole nother section.
It had to
but
be
they
said,
did.
though.
It had to be said. That defense is pitiful. But the offense was somewhat of a bright spot. They moved the ball. Shapen looked the most comfortable he's been in the offense yet, and now he's out for the year.
The issue is, and I noticed it in the Arizona State game, and it's kind of been a trend. The offense does not like to be productive until they have to when they're down 1,000,000 points.
Yeah, pretty much. But even in the – because that game was over, I think, halfway through the second quarter. But at that point, the offense was rolling. They ran the ball well. This was the best Kevon Lee has looked. Johnny Cooks deserves way more attention and way more time. The offensive line blocked well, north-south. I don't think the tackles blocked well all game, but I think the interior offensive line had a really good game. And that's why they were able to find some success running the football, and that opened up the pass game a little bit. But now, you've got a brand new signal caller in the back, and Levy did announce that Michael Van Buren is going to draw the start against Texas. Now, we've talked about red shirts already. He's only a couple games away from losing his red shirt for his freshman year. If he plays more than any, I think it's like if he plays in 2 or 3 more games, it's done, and he burns this year of eligibility. What would you do? Would you start Parson, or would you let give Van Buren the keys?
I do not envy Jeff Levy's job right about now.
I don't either.
I don't know what I would do, because and Florida is obviously not the best team you're going to play all season, but Van Buren, I was impressed with the 12 minutes or whatever it is that he played.
Yeah, didn't get a lot of run, but I mean
just over, I want to say just over 50% completion percentage. I think he had over 100 pass yards.
Yeah.
He looked solid in the pocket. I was impressed with him. It's just, my thing from the start was, you know how I feel about this. When you recruited to get a guy like Van Buren so hard, and then you go and you get Shapen out of the portal, it doesn't make sense to me, because you're in a rebuilding stage as it is. To me, at least, there is no reason to go get a super experienced guy out of the portal. Let your freshman in, get him some reps, let him know what it's going to be like, develop him through there. I know you have different thoughts on that.
You're going to get him hurt. You're just going to get him hurt.
I mean, you could say that for anyone.
No.
Everyone has an opportunity to get hurt or a possibility of getting hurt.
When he comes in as 170 pounds, yes, he has a greater opportunity to get hurt.
But, I mean, and there's no guarantee that he's going to get any bigger, though, is the thing.
Pretty much. There's pretty much a guarantee. Have you ever seen what the weight and strength and conditioning program at these Division I universities
and
look
I know
like?
what they can do,
You're guaranteed to gain weight if they want you to. And if they want you to lose weight and you follow the regimen, you're guaranteed to lose it.
Correct, but
it's a science at this point.
It is a science.
I think
it's a little disturbing.
I think that is it earlier than you'd want to throw him in? Yes. Do I worry about his health because of this? Yes. Do I think it's the right move? Yes, because I don't think Chris Parson can run this offense. Point blank. I think Chris Parson got brought here with a lot of expectations to run an air raid offense that I don't think he was ever truly comfortable running. I think he was a fantastic high school player that one day will transfer out of Mississippi State, go play somewhere like Middle Tennessee State, and win a lot of football games. I do not think that he is a Power 5 level quarterback. I'm not sure Michael Van Buren is, but I don't think Chris Parson is. And
I don't think Chris
I hate that
Parsons
because
is.
I like him as a kid. I think he's a wonderful human being, and I think he's going to go do wonderful things, but I don't think it's going to be at Mississippi State
I
University.
just don't think you've seen the development you want out of him.
I don't either. I mean, he doesn't have the big arm that you need in a Levy offense. He's not really big, and neither is Shapen. Shapen's not a towering figure by any means, but he's bigger than Parson. Van Buren, though, kind of the same way. Listed at 6 foot, $180. Not huge, but not small. He's no Camario Taylor, who you're going to have on campus next year. But I think he's serviceable. I think he's a little more mobile. But again, I worry about the health. I worry about his size, and I worry about his inexperience.
And I think you bringing up Camario Taylor also is another big point is moving forward. I think the quarterback room is such a mess here now, especially after the comments of Shapen might be coming back another year. Then you have Van Buren.
Which I think is still a good idea.
Well, my thing is, though, if you have Shapen, Van Buren, if Parson stays, and then you have Camario Taylor, that is you don't keep all 4 of those guys.
I think Parson is the first to go.
I agree.
And I think it would be, personally, I think it would be the best move for Parson to get out.
I agree.
And again, I wish him literally the best in everything he does. I think he's going to go be a fantastic quarterback. I think he would be wonderful for a Memphis or a Middle Tennessee State or a Tulane, somebody like that. I just don't see it happening at Mississippi State.
The question is, though, you do get Shapen for that next year. Van Buren most likely has burned his red shirt.
Yeah, more than likely.
The goal. I don't think the plan was for Van Buren not to be starting next year.
That depends. I mean, you look at.
My point.
You look at Camario and you're like, yeah, he's going to be great. But you also look at Blake Shapen, a guy who's played so much Power 5 football. How do you not start him? Because you've seen what he can produce. I don't think Shapen's been the problem in this offense. I think he's been one of the lone bright spots.
I agree.
And if you can get him back and healthy, why wouldn't you play him?
I mean, he's been good. It just that quarter. I'm not jealous of.
I'm not either.
Jeff Levy and what he's got to do.
I'm not either. And I hate that Michael Van Buren's got to make his first start in Austin, Texas, in front of a bunch of raving Longhorn fans.
Maybe he pulls what the Mannings in the past have done in college.
Oh, God. Don't fill me with hope. Don't you dare.
It's a possibility.
Don't you dare.
You know what Eli and Peyton did when they first came onto a game?
Don't you dare. Don't you do it. Don't you put this evil on me. I can't believe you'd do such a thing.
Hey, I'm the one that's got to be stressing this week. Just remember that.
That's fair. That's all the time we've got here for another great Maroon and White edition. As always, thanks for watching or listening. We'll catch you next week on the Magnolia Fields High School edition. Tanner Marlar, Cody Blaszczak, signing off.